Hello and welcome to Dark Souls Remastered. My name is FirstProspect, and this is going to be a Let's Play series. Okay, good. So we're going to start a new game just for this channel, and we will simply name our character FirstProspect. We're going to be a dude. We are going to be a pyromancer, because starting at level 1 is always fun. Everybody knows you go with the pendant. You might be asking, why didn't I go with the pendant? The pendant does not do anything. Just in case you didn't know, that was a long-kept secret. But eventually, it was confirmed that it does absolutely nothing. I don't know, I guess if we're a pyromancer, we probably just shouldn't have any hair, huh? I'm not going to go too far with customization. I think that's fine. Half the game we're probably going to be hollow and looking like a gross piece of beef jerky anyway. So we'll go ahead and start this. Once again, thank you for being here, and I'll go ahead. I'll be quiet during the cutscene. Let's get started.
In the age of ancients, the world was unformed, shrouded by fog. A land of grey crags, arch trees, and everlasting dragons. But then there was fire, and with fire came disparity. Heat and cold, life and death, and of course, light and dark. Then from the dark they came and found the souls of lords within the flame. Nito, the first of the dead. The Witch of Izalith and her daughters of Chaos. Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, and his faithful knights. And the furtive pygmy, so easily forgotten. With the strength of lords, they challenged the dragons. Gwyn's mighty bolts peeled apart their stone scales. The witches weaved great firestorms. Nito unleashed a miasma of death and disease. And Seath the Scaleless betrayed his own, and the dragons were no more. Thus began the Age of Fire. But soon the flames will fade, and only dark will remain. Even now, there are only embers. And man sees not light, but only endless nights. And amongst the living are seen carriers of the accursed dark side.
So for those of you who have never played Dark Souls before, that might have been really confusing. But basically, that was our introduction to the world
Indeed,
is a mess.
the dark side.
There are these really powerful dudes, and we're probably going to face them as bosses. Okay.
And in this land, the undead are corralled and led to the north.
We are not one of these super powerful beings.
Where they are locked away
Yet.
to await the end of the world.
We're starting this almost like an Elder Scrolls game where we're just locked away. Mostly because we're undead.
Is your fate.
Crispy. You know, I have to say, in the 7 years since the Prepare to Die edition came out on PC, Dark Souls was never the most impressive graphical game. However, these textures look much, 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 much better than they did back in the day. And back in the day, of course, Dark Souls required a third-party mod called DS to really even be playable. Very few people play with keyboard and mouse. It's really difficult. There's not much to say about it other than thank God that there has been so much love for Dark Souls, because honestly, if it hadn't been for a very dedicated and faithful community, I don't know if the Dark Souls series ever really would have taken off. And it's a crazy how much of a cult following the game has, and despite its perceived difficulty, how much of a popular following it really has. But I'm going to say, for those of you who are like, oh, Dark Souls is hard, I'm never going to play it, I'm only going to watch people play it. If you have an Xbox or a PS4 controller that you can hook up to your computer, and there are tutorials on Google how to do that. If you've got one, you owe it to yourself to try Dark Souls. Now is the perfect time to get into it. The remaster is very faithful to the original. The graphics are very crisp, not super advanced, but crisp. The game runs beautifully. I am having no problems here whatsoever. I don't think we really need a cracked round shield. It's not very good. And the community is more alive than it's been in a long time. Now, there are newer games, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice was just announced at this past 2018 E3. Indiana Jones couldn't have done better. But, that's kind of why I'm here playing this game. It's been 7 years since I last touched it with a involved hand, and I'm happy all of you could join me for this revisit to the world of Lordran.
Oh, you. You're no hollow. Thank goodness. I'm done for, I'm afraid. I'll die soon, then lose my sanity. I wish to ask something of you.
Poor Oscar.
You and I were both undead. Hear me out, will you?
Of course I'll hear you out, buddy. You got me out of prison.
Regrettably, I have failed in my mission, but perhaps you can keep the torch lit. There is an old saying in my family: thou who art undead art chosen, and thine exodus from the undead asylum maketh pilgrimage to the land of ancient lords. When thou ringest the bell of awakening, the fate of the undead thou shalt know. Well, now you know, and I can die with hope in my heart. Oh, one more thing. Here, take this. An Estus flask. An undead favorite. Oh, and this. Now I must bid farewell. I would hate to harm you after death. So go now, and thank you.
So the poor soul actually does die. Right, just as we walk out of that room. And the unfortunate thing is that he will never know what the fate of the undead is. He just is undead. The undead curse in Dark Souls is really cool, because it's not just your typical zombie apocalypse. The reason is that zombies actually do retain their sanity as long as they have a purpose. It's as soon as they lose their purpose, they don't know why they exist anymore, that they cease to retain their sanity. And that's something really cool. That's like, it's both a blessing and a curse. Oh, he got me good. All right. I honestly did not expect him to hit me there. I thought I was going to roll right through that. So as a pyromancer, we get this cool little glove that allows us to shoot fireballs and other stuff. There's the boss that dropped down earlier. I didn't really talk about him too much, mostly because I knew that we would be going ahead and whacking him in the face. So this guy's basically our warden. Yep. Let's show off some of this pyromancy. Oh, wow, that does a lot to him. I forgot how weak he was to fire. Alright, easy peasy. He didn't even hit us once. There we go. The really cool thing about these messages is that those are left there by people. There's an item you can get in this game and leave messages for other people. So even though I'd probably say most people's experience with Dark Souls is primarily a single-player experience with a little bit of PvP and a little bit of co-op, Dark Souls is cool because that cooperative element, even if you don't have other people playing in your game, it still persists because those messages can be used to help others or to trick others. Something could be said about the nature of humanity there. I think that's kind of the point of the game. Could you imagine a crow the size of a 3-story building just picking you up and carrying you off into the mountains?
To the land of the ancient lords.
Gotta say, our character has taken this pretty calm.
Lordran.
Now what's crazy is, you see that bridge in the distance and the bell tower? We can visit both of those places. We can visit pretty much anywhere along this wall. This is all explorable area. And you can actually see the bridge way up in the distance. So I think we'll take this episode until about when we kill the Taurus demon, who's going to be the first boss in the real game, past the tutorial. We do have a friendo here, but he's basically just going to go tell us the same thing that we already know. He is quite depressed. I believe he's just called the Crestfallen Knight, or the Crestfallen Warrior. He does give us this interesting little tidbit, though. There are 2 bells of awakening. Everybody has that creepy little laugh. We actually have a bunch of souls since we killed the demon, and we're gonna take those souls and we're gonna level up. People will laugh at me for picking Dex. There's a joke in the Souls community that if you level Dex, you are weak, because why would you need anything other than strength? However, I don't really have a build planned for this character. I mainly just don't want him to be terrible. But I want him to have some casting ability. I don't know if we need a super specialized weapon. But I think evening out our stats a little bit will be nice. Unfortunately, resistance is a rather worthless stat, and the fact that it starts at 12 for us is a little disappointing, because all it does is increase your poison resistance. Which is only relevant in 3 areas, maybe. Anyway. So we'll go ahead and we'll level those. And we're off. There are several ways that you can go out of here. That's not one of them. And there are several different people that you can meet throughout this game, and they will come join you here in Firelink Shrine. There are also items scattered that you can hunt for. We'll be getting some of them now, as you saw with the fire bombs, and some of them later. There is, in fact, one more person here.
Hello there. I am Petrus of Thurland. If not,
He's a little standoffish, but one thing that I didn't know about Dark Souls is that you can keep talking to people, and they will eventually give you something. And that bell you just heard, that means that somebody else has actually rung the first bell of awakening. I'm going to join this covenant. I don't see why I shouldn't. It's nice just to be able to purchase miracles. And the cool thing is we get to learn how to shrug.
come again. The effect.
And gestures are here in the menu. There are some pretty standard ones. Pointing up. We can replace that with shrug. I don't know. Look at that. Look at us. Okay. Very exciting. It is highly recommended you go this direction. Not everybody knows that this direction is the way you are recommended to go, I would say. But the other paths are, well, they're much more dangerous than this one. Enemies will kill you in just... Maybe these enemies will kill me. But I can take quite a bit more hits from these guys. Alright, well, we got him. That's the important thing. Cool thing about those Estus flasks that we were given is that they will heal us. And they'll heal us quite substantially, too. Not going to go into the sword this time. A lot of times you can roll right through attacks, but I don't know what I did wrong last time. There's actually a nice item we can get over there. There we go. Made that rather successfully. Of course, I don't know who in their right mind would feel like they can safely walk across there, but you can, in fact. And that's one of the really cool things about Dark Souls, is that a lot of people say it's really hard, but a lot of it is just, well, set your mind to it, and you can do it. It's definitely a great teacher of persistence and determination, and I learned a lot from it my first playthrough. When I first played Dark Souls back in 2011, it was given to me as a Christmas or a birthday gift. My birthday is just a little bit before Christmas, by about a month and a half. But I was so frustrated. I was just so flabbergasted that people could like this game, and I couldn't put it down, but I couldn't really get into it. And it took me a number of weeks before I finally said, okay, let's try and figure this out. Because especially if you didn't have a controller, it was a tough game to parse. The controls are explained to you in the tutorial, but it's obtuse. I think obtuse is a great word to describe the presentation of Dark Souls, and in a way, I think that's fair of the game. It really puts it into perspective for you just how lost your character is. But as an introduction to a game, it's not. I'm not saying, oh, it was intentional and FromSoft should have always done that. No, that's not what I'm saying. Because they certainly made the second and third installments in the series quite a bit more accessible, along with Bloodborne. Oh boy, oh boy. But it gave the community who wanted to learn Dark Souls, who wanted... Oh, interesting. Who wanted to fully understand and appreciate this world and this game. It gave them a sense of camaraderie and a sense of accomplishment when things were discovered about this game, because there are a lot of really cool secrets in this game. There are illusory walls, there are optional hidden bosses. Those signs are actually part of a covenant that you can join in secret, and it's rather difficult to get to. If you don't know what you're doing, I don't even know if you can join it. Anyways, just doing a little bit of exploration. I know where most things are, luckily, so that's going to help us in the long run. Up here, there's a nice little surprise. Nice big surprise. You can actually fight that Drake. In fact, he leads to one of the most well-known secrets about the game. If you shoot off or cut off its tail, then the game will reward you with a sword simply called the Drake Sword. I do not plan to go retrieve the Drake Sword. It's great for the early game, but it eventually just has very little power scaling. A lot of weapons gain extra power the higher your stats are, making it so that the more powerful you become, the more powerful the weapon becomes. And sadly, the Drake Sword is more of a fixed power level weapon. And it doesn't really go up from... Whoa. That's some crazy reach there. He dropped his shield right as I struck. That was awesome. Over here, there's a friendly little merchant.
Well now, you seem to have your wits about you. Then you are a welcome cast, I trade.
That will allow us to read and write messages. We are going to get the residence key. We'll probably pick up the box. I actually don't know how necessary that is. Okay. So yeah, he tells us basically there are some demons walking around. Everybody's gone crazy, but hey, if you give me souls, I'll give you cool stuff. And I'm like, hey, I am all about that. So deal or no deal? Deal. All the time. Give me the deal. I thought I hit you. I guess I didn't. Okay. A lot of people who get mad about Dark Souls 2, and I'm going to do my best not to get mad, but if I rage, I hope you find it entertaining. As you can see, we're kind of doing a little bit of backtracking to explore, just to make sure that we get all the items that we can, give us as many advantages as we can get before going to face our first boss. Although we won't need the crossbow or anything like that. Well, I say we won't need it, but it's still useful to have. Okay, let's sprint through here. Do we have a... I think we're at a medium sprint. So you know what I'm gonna do? We're gonna go buff. There we go. Look at us. Speeding right along here. Excuse me. Ooh. Alright. So we only have 7 Estus flasks, but we can change that. Actually, being able to select how many of an item you use is a new addition to Dark Souls Remastered. That was added in Dark Souls 2, and they fortunately brought it back here. So what I just did is I got rid of my zombification by using a piece of the Dark Soul, a piece of humanity, and I absorbed it into me, and now I look, well, I guess I kind of look like The Rock, huh? And you can actually see how much humanity I have in the counter at the top of the screen, next to my health bar and next to my stamina bar. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to kindle this flame, and if you take a look, I'm going to go from 7 Estus flasks to 10. And you can, later in the game, get an item that allows you to kindle each bonfire a maximum of 3 times, meaning that you can carry around 20 Estus flasks, which is extremely useful in a game like this. So we're just going to go ahead, we're going to stab these guys in the back. Look at us, we are so buff. Oh, well, that is very unfortunate. You're actually immune during a backstab animation, but the other hollow got us right as we came out. Not a whole lot we could have done about that. Ooh. He got us again. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm not up to this task. Huh? I think we are. We've got this. Maybe I will, let's take a look here. Let's put on the wooden shield. Okay, cool. We're still fast rolling, so we're good here. Let's just try and take a little less damage. We don't need to waste our Estus flasks. We've got some pretty important enemies coming up ahead of us, and we definitely want to be able to kill them and survive to get to the next bonfire. Oh, I tricked him. I think that's enough firebombs there. Now, there are consumable items. The firebombs that we picked up earlier are some of them. What he just threw at me, that's a firebomb. If that was somehow something you needed explained to you. Oh, cool, he dropped in. Oh, look, more firebombs. There we go. All right, you know what? Let's put our firebombs in our quick bar so that we have access to them when we need them. As you can see, we don't really have a whole lot of health. Now this is a secret tool that will help us later. What it actually is a type of dust that you use to put a buff on your weapons. So the golden pine resin has lightning elemental properties. The really cool thing is that the boss that we're about to face is weak to lightning. That whole disasters are gone after the defeat of the Gravelord Servant is part of that covenant with the black signs on the ground that I was mentioning earlier. And the important thing to note is that none of that actually affects us right now, because that is only present in the New Game Plus playthrough level. Playing a dangerous game here, getting real close to the tips of these blades. Alright, there we go. That group of enemies is done. So we want to get this guy to kick the barrel down at us. And then we'll take him out. There we go. Easy peasy. Dark Souls is not so much hard as it is methodical. It requires patience, it requires planning. And it definitely requires a willingness to try again. You can't give up. If you give up, that's just, well, you're not going to get anywhere. This guy is pretty weak to fire. So I'm just going to throw some bombs at him. As you can see, this guy is really tough. Ooh. Got him! Alright. Ah, he didn't drop his weapon. So there's a bit of a random roll chance when it comes to enemies dropping their weapons. Now, I haven't explained the bonfire system as well as I would have liked. For those who don't know, every time you reset a bonfire, the world around you resets. And I think you might have noticed that earlier in the video when I went human and I kindled the bonfire. We actually have a bit of humanity, and I'm not sure what gave it to us. Sometimes you get humanity randomly, and I think it might be when another player in the area beats the boss that you are encountering. But don't quote me on that, because I don't know for sure. Now we're just about at the boss here, and in fact I'm just taking out his I don't know if I can call them henchmen, but his two little snipers up on the roof. Now when you reset the world, most enemies respawn, but not all enemies. And unfortunately the Black Knights are some of those enemies who they don't come back. So if you kill them and they don't give you their weapon or their shield or their armor, well, you really just gotta hope that the next one gives it to you. And there might be some who do respawn later on in the game, but these first few do not. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna apply the lightning to our weapon, and we are gonna drop down and whack this guy in the face. And you can see just how much damage that does and how much it hurts him. I can't see anything. Alright, 2 bosses, no boss hit us. There we go. That was a little terrifying not being able to see. I was afraid he was going to whack me or something, but we got through that pretty okay. And there we go, 3,000 souls. Seems like that Taurus demon might have had a bit of a hoarding problem, huh? Trust me, 3,000 souls, pennies. It is pennies. So the really cool thing now is that Dark Souls is about to reveal one of its strongest traits. We're going to go talk to Solaire of Astora, and you might be able to tell by his name, this dude just loves the sun.
You don't look hollow. I am Solaire of Astora, an adherent of the Lord of Sunlight. Now that I am undead, I have come to this great land, the birthplace of Lord Gwyn, to seek my very own son. You find that strange? No need to hide your reaction.
Solaire's kind of a weird dude, but we like him anyway. He is the source of a lot of memes.
I have a proposition, if you have a moment. The way I
Let me hear you out.
our fates appear to be intertwined. In a land brimming with hollows, could that really be mere chance? So what do you say? Why not help one another on this lonely journey? It pleases you greatly. Well then, take it.
So now we get to do some really cool stuff with co-op, and Solaire will explain it to us. And
We are amidst strange beings in a strange land. The flow of time itself is convoluted, with heroes centuries old fading in and out. The very fabric wavers, and relations shift and obscure. There's no telling how much longer your world and mine will remain in contact. But you see, to summon one another as spirits, cross the gaps between the worlds, and engage in jolly cooperation. Of course, we are not the only ones engaged in this, but I am a warrior of the sun. Spot my summon signature easily, but if you miss...
so, and now we'll just listen to him say his most famous line.
Hello there. I will stay behind to gaze at the sun. The sun is a wondrous body, like a magnificent father. If only I could be so grossly incandescent.
Delightful. Jolly cooperation, praise the sun, if only I could be so grossly incandescent. All of these are essential to understanding Dark Souls. No, not at all, not really. But they are important if you would like to help others, and I always forget just how far those flames go. If you would like to help others and help others defeat bosses. Now, I'm not going to kill this Drake right now, right here. Because that would be very risky without the proper tools. And also, I'm not wearing a shirt. So what I am going to do is I'm going to kick this ladder. And you may notice that this area is somewhat recognizable. And that's because we just opened up a shortcut to where we started. And that's one of the coolest things about Dark Souls, is just how interconnected the world is. And man, that is... that's always one of the things that has impressed me the most about Dark Souls. And a lot of people will say the first half of Dark Souls, before you're able to teleport bonfire to bonfire, is the best part of Dark Souls, because you really have to explore and you really have to learn the world. And there is definitely some truth to that. So let's get some stats up. And this actually looks nice and even. Everything's at 12 or 10. I kind of like that where it is. And with that, we're going to go ahead. My name is FirstProspect. Once again, thank you for joining me for this Dark Souls Remastered Let's Play series. I hope you enjoyed this first episode. I hope to see you in the next video. If you liked this, please hit the like button. If you want to say something about it, put a comment down in the comments below. And if you want to see more in the future and you want to know when that comes out, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. With that, you have a wonderful day, night, evening, wherever you are. This is FirstProspect, signing off.